Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure, bonus material, The Dad Files. In looking for material to read, I found an old folder that contains every article that I ever wrote about being a dad. From the very first time we knew we were having a baby, all the way through the adult life of my daughter and now her own children. Oh, I always get letters from people who say, hey, when you preach, you talk about your children too much. Well, being a dad is one of the most awesome responsibilities and one of the greatest adventures I've ever had. I hope you'll enjoy The Dad Files. Did you know a home bought or sold can mean that help is given to those in need? With Rosenblum Realty, a portion of their revenue is given to charities and nonprofits every single week. If you believe in helping those in need and are in the market to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, then consider the fact that partnering with Rosenblum Realty means they'll give a contribution to mission work, food distribution, homeless programs, children's education, military and veterans programs, and many other great works. Rosenblum Realty is a fourth-generation family-owned real estate company. To find out how they can help you while helping others, visit givetomycommunity.com. That's givetomycommunity.com, or visit them at rosenblumrealty.com. Rosenblum Realty, making lives a little rosier, one house at a time. At this point in Lonnie Beth's life, Sissy is our smallest and oldest dog. She is all of 12 pounds, and at that, she's fat. She's a full-blooded Shetland sheepdog. Insert miniature lassie for your mental picture. And Sissy got sick. Sick enough that I thought we might lose her. Sissy's actually Lonnie Beth's dog. I gave her to her when she was tiny, and they've grown up together. The girls cried as I tried to see what was wrong with her. The girls cried as we took her to the vet. The girls cried at the vet. The vet told us that the problems weren't as bad as we thought they were and that Sissy would be okay, and the girls cried. When we got home, which was after 11 p.m., and got ready for bed, Lonnie Beth said she could not bear the thought of not sleeping with her dog. She took her sleeping bag, her pillow, and a sheet, and out on the deck she went. I would never tell her that I know, and you should probably not mention it, but I think sometimes she's afraid of the dark. Yet that night she borrowed the flashlight that I use when I play with the SWAT team, and she went outside to be with her sick dog. I peeked out the window once or twice. The first time I saw her staring wide-eyed into the darkness. I went out and we watched the stars until she got sleepy. The next time I peeked out, she was asleep and her little dog was curled up by her head. Lonnie Beth does not speak sheepdog, and the little sheepdog in our yard doesn't speak English. The little girl at my house understands friendship, and she understands her little dog as her friend, and she loves her. So when the dog was sick, she did for her what she likes to be done. Mom, Dad, can I sleep in your bed? So she stayed near Sissy. She spent the whole night with that little dog out there in the dark. I know she's afraid of the dark. She fed her special treats, and she made sure she took her medicine. Oh, I learned so much from the purity of Lonnie Beth's emotions. When people are sick, they want others near them. When people are scared, they want others near them. When I love those who are sick or scared or hurting, if I really love them, I'll make the sacrifices in order to be near them. She stared wide eyes as we walked past the stock pens to get to our seats. Dad, Look at those pretty horses. Dad, did you see how big that bull is? She oohed and awed at the procession of the white stallions and the golden palominos. She clapped and cheered every time a rider made it to the buzzer. But then they started roping the calves. Dad, do you think that hurts that little calf? Oh, maybe a little, but the calves are all right. See how quickly they get up? The next cowboy made a perfect throw. The lasso encircled the little calf's head. The horse planted, and the calf was snatched off his feet. And as the horse backed up to keep the slack out of the rope, Lonnie Beth called foul. Dad, they are choking those little calves. C-A-L-F-S, calves. Dad, they're choking those little calves, and I think it hurts. And so it was that every time one of the calves shot out of the chute at the Longhorn Rodeo, one lone voice in the Von Braun Center would shout, "Go, little calf, go!" And if the cowboy messed up and his lasso missed the calf, one little girl would stand up and clap and cheer. Oh, how could an animal rights activist have crept into the genetic structure of the Jones family? I'm looking for a paper bag to wear over my head. My daughter is clapping and cheering when the calves get away at the rodeo. Oh, now a bull can chunk a guy into the stratosphere, and Lonnie Beth says, all he's trying to do is get that guy off his back. But those little calves haven't done anything. Maybe it's sympathy, maybe it's empathy, maybe it's the idea that she wouldn't want that to be happening to her if she were a little calf. Whatever it is, I hope it grows. I hope she applies it more to people and less to rodeo calves. After all, if she runs into the same calf during a Happy Meal, she'll never even stop and pause to think about it. I've learned later this is called emotional intelligence, called attunement. It's the mental process of putting herself in the place of the calf. She's thinking, I wouldn't want to be there, and I wouldn't want that done to me. When we can put ourselves in the place of other people, we can better manage how to treat them. Do you like to be yelled at? Do you like to be lied to? Do you enjoy it when people are grumpy with you? A lot of our interactions should simply start with asking your father, do you think that hurts that little sheep? We are all his sheep, after all. In 1998, I opened up my private practice. I moved to a little small office on South Memorial Parkway, and across the hall from my office was a absolutely charming Southern gentleman named Mr. Walt Bartee. He and his sister Ann ran Walt Bartee Coins and Bullion. This little shop was eventually taken over by their grandson, Jared Bentley. Jared is one of the most pleasant people you'll ever do business with. If you're interested in investing in gold or silver, call Walt Bartee Coins and Bullion, 256-883-9004, 256-883-9004, or use the 800 number, 1-800-608-6052. That's 1-800-608-6052. For our 5th wedding anniversary, we spent the weekend building a loft bed. I attached some 2x6s to the studs in the bedroom. Then we put a frame over the top of those 2x6s and put joist underneath them. I hand carved a ladder. Jackie Blonde stained some decorative molding, and we built a loft bed with a railing. It was high enough off the floor that Lonnie Beth could use her entire floor to play with, but was low enough from the ceiling that she could sit up and read. And it was a great place to spend the night and play with her dolls, and had plenty of room for all the things that she uses as snuggle buddies. And that was when she was tiny. Now, not only does she want a big girl bed, she wants a big girl room. We spent part of last weekend moving furniture. Lonnie Beth's about 10 years old, maybe. 5 years ago, I built that loft bed. Basically, it was a huge shelf with decorated molding and a handmade ladder and a handmade railing. It contained her mattress and her stuffed snuggle buddies, and recently she'd been sleeping less up there and wanting to quote-unquote camp out on the couch. I approached the idea of removing the bunk and restoring her room to normal, and for some reason, she just doesn't want the bunk done away with. I knew she wanted something else, but would not dare say she didn't want the bunk that I had made her. She never complained. You could just tell. Finally, I offered her a trade. Why don't you move into Dad's art, parentheses, junk room, and we'll move his drawing table and climbing gear into your room. The bunk will make a nice shelf for ropes and actually give Dad more closet space. She liked the idea, and so we've traded and we're swapping sides. Plans include a new bedroom suit that is appropriate for a young lady and possibly even a fresh coat of paint on the walls. There's even been rumors of murals. Now, a cheetah I could paint, the Backstreet Boys are out. It's funny. I think she likes the new setup. She's pretty patient about the arrival of her new things, her curtains and her bedspread, but she still talks about her bunk. Her friends will come over and she'll show her friends her bunk. That's my bunk, but my dad keeps his ropes up there now. She's moved out of the room but still wants ownership of the bunk. I really think that's pretty cool. But as she creeps away from childhood and into pre-adolescence, easing toward becoming a young lady, it's hard to turn loose. It reminds me of Christians moving through the process of maturity. We're making progress, but we still have some treasures across the hall that we can't seem to part with. Traditions are that way, habits are that way, attitudes are that way. We may outgrow them, but we still feel attached to them. Paul simply said, when I became a man, I put away childish things. When we mature spiritually, when we are spiritually mature, we need to put away the baby aspects of our Christian walk and simply walk the walk of maturity. And sometimes it means moving from one room to another. She'd built a campfire ring down by her fort. She wanted me to see what she had done, and I had literally just stepped out of the truck after coming home from a seminar in Memphis. We walked through the dark, down to this little ditch where the dead log was. Dad, do you really want to move? In some ways I do, and in some ways I'm pretty comfortable with our house. Dad, I don't want to leave my yard. I have lots of good times in this old yard. I think she's being overly dramatic and sentimental. I also think I know where she gets it. Honey, in just a few years, it won't be such a big deal to have a yard to play in. What do you mean? Well, people change. You'll be doing other things. We won't spend as much time in the yard as we do now. Oh no, Daddy, I'll never change. I'll always want to play outside with you. It would be nice if that were true. Someone once said that the human error was the assumption of permanence. Life is about change. The things that we do not change are not alive. If we stop changing, we cease to grow and we cease to live. At 11 years old, she really doesn't want to change. At 11, she can't think about anything that is more appealing than our acre of land on Stacy Circle. Oh, just recently that acre was overrun with squealing girls, although she would tear up to admit it. If it was a choice to go with them or stay here and play in the yard with me, she would choose to go. Soon it will be with cheerleaders or ball players or at some point maybe a boy. For her, it is normal and natural. She'll never view it as having changed. She'll never recognize how subtly it will happen. It will happen suddenly, and it will happen subtly. It will happen whether she recognizes it or not. The trampoline will go unused. No one will play alligator on the rope swing anymore. The climbing wall will be something you have to weed eat around rather than something you spend hours on with your friends. Our friendship with God is vulnerable to the same kind of insidious change. We walk and talk with Him, and then we get distracted. We may not choose not to be friends. It may just be that we start becoming better friends with other things. Sadly, we often never see that the shift has been made. We wake up, and unlike little girls who grow up, we find we have grown away. Sometimes it's people in our lives. Sometimes it's the pursuit of things. Sometimes we just aren't careful to devote the time we need to maintaining a close walk. I'm not sure of all of the reasons. I do know that if we suddenly realize that we are not as close to God as we used to be, we need to recognize that God is not the one who moved. I have a little hero to tell you about. She struggles in school. She's bright and she's talented and she's articulate. She's funny and she's pretty and she's kind and she's generous. She's creative and she's artistic. But she has a learning difficulty, and because of that, her grades are low. The school seems to be overwhelmed with other issues, and so instead of teaching children or helping children who are on the bubble, they want to devote their time and energy to making excuses and doing other things. Her problem is not so much that she needs to be in special education, but she does need modification in the classroom. And unfortunately, the system is not designed to deal with her situation. She's not labeled LD or special ed and therefore doesn't have the legal IEP, individual education program, or a special plan of some kind. Her mom and dad decided that it would be in her best interest to try to do the homeschool route. Spiritually, emotionally, educationally, this could be a good thing. Of course, it means some changes. She won't play ball for the school, and she can't be a cheerleader. She won't be in the SGA. The little girl told her teachers that she would be leaving school. She spoke with the cheering sponsor and turned in her uniform. A week, that's 5 school days. A week before she officially left public school, the first basketball game of the year was to be played. The cheerleaders were called out of classes, and she went. She was still in school, so she thought she was still a cheerleader. The substitute sponsor told her to leave. You're going to be homeschooled. You don't belong in here. You are not a cheerleader. Of course she left, and of course she cried. The night of the first game came, and she told her dad that she would like to go. Her dad was pretty concerned. She told her dad she'd be okay. I know all the cheers. I'll just sit behind the cheerleaders and do my stuff. I don't have a uniform, but I can still cheer. I do not think I could have walked into that gym at her age and handled myself in that manner. Oh, I thought about her all that afternoon. Those gorgeous blue eyes, those red, white, and blue braces, and that ponytail bouncing on those bleachers behind those blue and white uniforms. How brave do you have to be? How strong a person does it take to do something like that? Especially after an adult that should know better, has told you you don't belong. I don't care what her academics will ever be. But I can tell you about her character. What would it have hurt to let a little girl wear a blue uniform just one time in her life and do what she had practiced so hard for all summer? How hard would it have been to say, well, I know you turned in your uniform and your stuff, but until you actually withdraw, you're still one of us. I can imagine it would have taken some extra effort, and it still remains true that it takes no effort or special talent at all to be cruel or unkind. Maybe there's not a deep lesson here. Maybe it's just a story I needed to tell. This is probably the only place I could tell it and not cry. She doesn't read this page, and if she does, it'll be after she's all grown up. And if she does, she will know that even though she asked me not to go to the game that night, I was there. I snuck in. I was really there. And I think that when she finds out that I know about this story, she will think that I think she has the heart of a hero. Where can you find helping, healing, and humor all in one place? Well, hang out with Ben and Travis on the Ben and Travis podcast. Ben and Travis on their podcast strive to normalize the discussion about mental health among Christians and help people with their struggles and broaden their horizons. Their special guests are always educational and entertaining. I love these two gentlemen, and you will too. Hang out with Ben and Travis on the Helping Healing Humor podcast, benandtravis.com. You'll also notice they have a bat logo. For those of you who don't pick up on that, Ben starts with a B, Travis starts with a T, and starts with an A. Ben and Travis, the bat symbol. Ben and Travis podcast, Helping Healing Humor, is a sponsor of the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure and the Dad Files.